Oh wait, is it recording though?
Yeah. Oh, it's live, but it takes a minute to get over to YouTube.
Oh, so how do we know? Oh, you have the URL then.
Yeah, you got the YouTube up. Once you got the YouTube up, it'll show you that you're live. If not, sometime you got to click
Let
live
me
on the YouTube
view
live
on YouTube.
video. Hmm.
This is odd. If anyone's already seeing this, it's
Yeah,
even odder.
don't worry about it. We
Yeah, I think
working
I
it
think
all
we're
out.
live. This is happening.
Right, you're in the right place. You're in
All
the
right,
building block.
so here we are. Welcome to Stripping the Dipping Live. My name is Asaf Sagi. I'm filling in for your usual co-host Denzel Clarkson, aka MG Dins. I got some big shoes to fill, and I'm a size 11. Uh, I'm joined today by the multi-talented, multitasking Jay from Wolfpack
Right.
Performance.
What's going
I don't
on,
I
good
don't have
people?
the
It's all right. It's all right, man. I heard the
all the
I heard the clap
sound
here,
points.
man. I heard the clap right here.
All right. So for those who don't know, Jay is, I think, one of the how should I say this? Like
Yeah, how
one
would
of
you
the
say it?
cornerstones of F1 Twitter, F1 YouTube, F1 podcasts. If you don't know his stuff, you should go and check him out. And we're going to learn a lot about what he's doing today.
Yes.
Um, so you got your podcast, you got
Yes.
your car business, like car modding business. Am I right?
Right.
All right. Yeah. You got F1 Minute, the live call-in show, which I think is the only one out there for
Yes.
F1 content. Jesus. What else? You got Grudge Racing, which I want to talk about because that's one thing about you that I haven't gone too deep into.
Okay.
You got several podcasts actually. You also got Verbal Reasoning, which you host with
Right.
Nyasha and Cameron.
Correct.
And you do music,
Yes. Yeah.
and I bet there's a lot more. So
Yeah.
let's get into it, shall we?
All
So
right. Let's get into it.
in typical stripping the dipping fashion, first question is like, what are your earliest memories of motor racing? How'd you get into it? How'd you get into
Okay.
F1? When was it?
All right.
Please tell us.
All right. So earlier versions of motor racing are street racing, and that comes from way back, like before 10, really. And really, it was a mixture of street racing and hydraulics because cars naturally, not naturally, but cars were introduced into my life to keep me from doing things that probably would have ended my life. I grew up in a gang infested community. Bloods, Crips were the majority. A lot of my friends didn't have, I would say they didn't have a choice because the household they grew up in were either blood or crip. So, you come up from a young age. I mean, I'm talking about from first, second grade coming up. They were already born in that. It just so happened that I was in the middle of it. So it kind of blessed me and doomed me at the same time because growing up with them, they knew my family and knew what some of my family were involved in. So they never pressured me to join either side. So I had friends that were Latin Kings, Umbros, Vice Lord, Bloods, and Crips. So what happened was my uncle ended up getting murdered when I was 10, who really kind of kept me out of that. But although he was in it, and then I started going astray, my other uncle came in, introduced me to cars to put me in the streets in a different way. And then from there, boom, it just came up. So as far as Formula One, my grandfather took me to a race a long time ago. He's passed, rest in peace. I don't even really recall it. I just know we went open wheel race. I had a poster at that time. That poster's been gone. So to me, my first real race as an adult to remember was a Coda. And then from there, like I said, I participated in drag racing, which that trophy's for, and I was always A to B. So
Oh
that's
my God.
just
Well,
in a
that's
nutshell, just like to just bring it real tight.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's a tough environment to grow up in. I'm sure. I mean, I'm very far removed from that, and I'm sure most of our European listeners also like they maybe hear about it in the movies or whatnot.
Right.
I'm really glad that you were able to get out of it. Not many people are so lucky. Um, well,
Facts.
yeah. So I mean, we're glad that you're with us, and seems like you've been able to turn it into something very productive. Like not just
Yeah.
as a hobby, but like as a business
Hmm.
and now as a community. I think from all the F1 creators that I know of, you're the only one who really wants the community to talk back on your platform. So
Facts.
F1 Minute, tell us about that, how that came to be.
Yeah, F1 Minute came to be because I got the Wolves then, like the Wolf Pack, we're all a family. So if you're a member in a group like Mary Beanie, Sylvia Wig, Will, I can go on name Paul, Freestyle, all of them like their family. So they're in the group. So we have a Discord. But the thing is, we get to interact with each other like this, like on a regular basis, which I really enjoy. But the thing was, not everybody, regardless whether it's financial or it's you don't know, I just didn't see a platform that was willing to sacrifice or step up and say, hey, there are bunches of people, regardless of what team they support, what driver they support, what their perspective is, they literally want to have something to say. So I sat back and I was thinking, like, maybe I should start my own talk show where I can let people call in and say the things they have to say, because I'm not afraid of that. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, confrontation is nothing that's new to me. So anything that would happen on there is not going to wow me or surprise me. At the end of the day, my main thing is I don't like my community being attacked. So although I can be attacked, if I see somebody attacking somebody in my community, that's where the line ends. Like, you can attack me all day, but as far as attacking people in my community, because nobody, even though you want to support, don't want to come there and be attacked. So I started F1 Minute and it popped, and then we just keep pushing it, and I just keep sticking with it because I want people to be able to come somewhere and talk and literally have a voice when they're talking, not just be in the comment section.
I love that. I love that. I think I started out in F1 Twitter around like 2021, which is the season I started watching F1 in. And I remember towards the end of 2021, especially after Abu Dhabi, Twitter Spaces were all the rage.
Right.
I think Team LH and other like people who don't necessarily support Lewis Hamilton, but who saw the injustice. They just wanted to talk it out with other like-minded people, and I think that was a very supportive space. And I remember thinking about it, and like I have all these podcasts that I listen to, and I love them, but nothing is like as fulfilling as to actually talk back with some of the people. And I love that that aspect of it, as you say, which I think really relates to what a wolf pack is. You got one member being attacked, needing help, so everybody else chips in and comes for their help, and I love that. I love that.
Fact. Yeah, Thanos real big in the spaces. I know that for a fact.
Sorry, what?
Thanos is real big in them spaces.
Oh
I know
yeah,
that
yeah,
for
yeah.
a fact, bro. Bro be running the spaces game for real.
Yeah, yeah, and he's been invited into some podcasts, and yeah, I think it's lovely. I think it's really great, and to see the community coming together. Yeah, so tell me, like the community aspect of it, the membership aspect, how does that work?
Okay, the membership aspect works like you're a member of the channel, the YouTube channel, and then you also get access to the Discord. So in the Discord, we have several different channels. Like, we have a Paddock channel, Paddock T channel, so the members can go there. Like, I really try to give my family members more control over having what they want in the community. So I really promote for them to, like, there's even a channel in them for them to hold their own community debate or wolves den. Like, you don't have to wait on me. If there's something that you all want to talk about and Jay is busy, like, Will, Blue Diva, Mary, Sylvia, anybody can go in and start a group and just start talking. And then, we have the Drivers Club, because I have the Esports Wolfpack Epic Grudge Racing Series. So they're exclusive to that. So if you're not a driver, you don't get access to that. But in there, we got like Brian Miller, we got Justin, like DCP, Delta Zero Productions. They come over and lend helping hands as far as setups, and the drivers get to get in there and talk tech, and they get to get in there and see what kind of settings are going to work and just go back and forth. That way on Grudge Racing Day, they have a little bit foot up. And we're also doing a giveaway at the end of the season, but you got to be a Wolfpack member, where I'm going to give away a Fanatec base, a Fanatec steering wheel, and Fanatec pedals, about $1,500 or so worth of equipment plus merch. And it's just going to be where you come in, you're going to race, and then the top dog will get that. But we're going to have other prizes for people along the way, so everybody can kind of get in the mix.
That is amazing. I hear about it a lot. I listen to her podcast, obviously. Sadly, after the fact, so I only I usually get it like a day or two after the show is live. So,
right.
It's really cool to see how you generate money from the community, but you distribute it back, and you provide entertainment, you provide community support, and a lot of love in between. And I think that's really lovely. And
like this week, we're going to have the Wolfpack Grudge Race, but all the proceeds are going to go to the relief fund for the Amelia flooding situation. So we're going to have a race this Sunday, and then all the super chats, whatever amount of super chats that are done in that race, I'm going to take those and I'm going to send them over to the relief fund that AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo have posted on their Twitter pages. So we're going to do that.
As Cam says, Can't hate it, bro. That's
Facts. Facts.
I love it. I love it. So tell us how that came to be, the whole esports thing. Are you an esports driver? Are
Nope.
you? No.
Nope. No, man. It came to be. I used to play Gran Turismo heavy, but man, when you're building content and trying to build a platform and trying to build a community, it's hard to like sit down and do anything else besides if you're planning and strategizing for that, trying to make sure that you're looking out for your community, make sure everybody's okay. Because people don't understand, like when you have a community, it's like a family. So family don't always agree. And every now and then you'll have a family member come in that wants to wage war. So you have to also take care of that. So there are times where I personally handle that, especially if my moderators, I always tell them, like, I don't want them in more harm's way than they have to be. At a certain level, I step in. So for me to take time just to, erase, it would take away from me building and making sure I'm leading the way for that. But what I did think about is not everybody, like I drive cars. I love cars. I love to build cars. Some people love to build in sim race. So I had to be understanding of the people that are in my community that do that, and then offer them something where they actually feel participated, like they actually feel like they're participating in the community. So I didn't want to leave them outside of that. I didn't want them to only have to be here for race day, but then feel like nothing else what they were passionate about. Although Jay builds cars, I don't build cars. I like to build sim racing and build rigs. So I said, I'm going to build something. I'm going to put something in place to make sure I facilitate you all's passion. So then the Wolfpack Epic Grudge Racing Series was born from that.
That's really cool. So tell me about the series. Like what type of cars?
All
I mean,
personal.
pretend I'm a sim noob, which I
Okay.
am. Like, the last time I came on this show was to talk to Denz about sim racing in general. What's a rig? What does it constitute? What type of software is that? Is there out there? All the differences between sim and the real world. But please, like, tell me about the series. Like, how'd you build it up?
Yo, big shout out to Dennis because he came over and participated in the race before, and we got our family over there. Brian's a beast, and that was a good race to see them two on track. But as far as the series, it's more like it's knockabout fun, right? So we're not so strict on the rules, but we don't want to see any malicious intent, right? We're gonna leave you a little room to play. So this is a race where you can come and not be so uptight and let it loose, but we still want to be cordial and courtesy to each other. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to see somebody clip in the corner. We don't want the Ocon Gasly situation, clip a corner and cart and just knock him out. Like we don't want to see that. And then if we do see that, then I have people that I go ahead and I communicate with, I counsel with, that I know are really good, like Justin, Brian, and then Wildcat, and then I'll talk to my boy Carlos. I'll talk to him, and then I'll see like, hey, y'all go back and watch this footage and you let me know what you think. And if they say, hey, it's cool, but maybe just keep an eye on it, then I'll do so. That there, even then again, I always let my community have a say in what we're doing when it comes to trying to grow into a different aim, because we're all growing together. Like I always tell them, it's a round table. Nobody's got the edge.
I love it. So they're like your race stewards and your Formula One management. So it rolled into one.
Right.
Yeah. So how's it going so far? Like, how long is the series?
Man. It's awesome. It's the series. We do a race whenever Formula One is not racing. We race.
All right.
So the main series is going to happen, like an ongoing series is going to be at the end of this season for that big package deal that I just told you about. That's when the 10 race series will start. Now, if we have, let's say we have 40 drivers that are going to participate. Well, we know there's only 20 drivers on the grid at a time. We'll hold a bracket for 20. We'll get down to those 10. Then we'll hold a separate bracket for the next 20. We'll get down to those 10. And then the final bracket for those 20 will go into the final. And whoever wins out of that will get the package. So if we have 40, I'm going to make sure we facilitate enough for 40 people to have their opportunity to work their way through the bracket and get an opportunity to win. So it doesn't matter if it's 60, then I guess we're going to have 3 separate brackets and then filter into 2. And so we'll work it out.
So all participants get to race in the same weekend. It's just divided into more races in the weekend. Right. Well, problem is, if Stefano Domenicali gets his way, you're not gonna have any weekends to race on.
Man, what are you talking about? You right. You want to race? He want to have sprint race every race and a race every weekend.
Have you noticed that every time they're like they go, we're gonna have a record-breaking 22 race season? Then like, what was canceled 2021? Was it
China? No, China got canceled this season.
Yeah,
China got canceled.
21. There was a race canceled. 22, they said we're gonna have a record-breaking 23 race calendar, and then Russia got canceled.
Yeah,
And
that's
this
what it
year,
was. It was Russia. It was Russia that got canceled for
that
due
was
to the
22.
situation going on. Yeah. So
We
that
had a
was
Russia
no,
21.
that was Russia
Something
that
was,
got canceled. I don't think that was. Yeah, that was 22, or was that
I mean,
21?
I
I
mean,
think Russia was 21.
no,
No, it was 22.
we
Russia
raced.
was 22.
Japanese Grand Prix was canceled, I think, in
There we
21.
go. So
Yeah,
Japanese 21, Russia 22, and now we got Imola, which big shout out to them. I'm hoping
and
for
China.
recovery. And China canceled this season.
So
So two this season canceled.
yeah, yeah. I mean, F1, read the room. You can't do any more record break. Next year they're gonna
Right.
say
This
26 race calendar, and then 4 of them will get
four of
canceled.
them will get canceled. Right. Just chill back, man. Chill
Yeah,
back. The
yeah.
calendar is good where it is.
Exactly. Let the drivers rest. Let the mechanics, the engineers, every flyaway
Everybody.
team,
Everybody.
let them rest. Yeah, I mean, Karun Chandok, poor man, he needs to remind his kids he exists.
Facts. Facts. Oh my gosh, that's a real thing
Oh
too.
man, we could go back into grudge racing once again, but let's talk about the situation in Imola.
Okay.
I mean, I heard your latest podcast on the subject, and
Mhm.
obviously the entire region is really suffering right now, and I think that's the main point we should be talking about. I think if us fans we miss a weekend, that's not too bad. I mean,
Right.
we can we've had the mini break in the start of the season,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, climate change, that shit's real, and I
Facts.
think not enough is talked about. I think in that regard. I mean, whatever's happening right now in Italy could happen in the Netherlands the year after. I mean,
Right.
these 100-year events are starting to become more and more frequent. You know.
Starting to be more unscheduled and random.
Yeah. So you guys are racing and going to
Mhm.
donate the proceeds to the region. I think that's beautiful. I don't think F1's going to do anything of the sort. Wouldn't expect them to.
I heard they
And
were going to do a million. I heard they were going to do a million.
really,
Yeah, I heard they were going
okay,
to do a
all
million
right,
to the area for the relief. That's what I heard. So we'll see if
I take it
that
back.
actually goes through. But yeah, I heard they were going to do like a million.
Awesome. Okay. I mean, I take it back.
And big shout
Really
out, they
hope.
finally put out the report that they're gonna go ahead and give people, because that was my big thing on the podcast, was it should be a full refund. It should be a choice of a full refund or to transfer the ticket to another race. It should be both in this
Yeah.
situation. And fortunately they did put out the notice on that, and I saw several other platforms that reported that they were going to give people an option to have full refund or transfer your race to another one. So they did the right thing there, which a lot of times we can't say, but when they do it, we got to give them kudos for doing
Yeah.
it.
All right. Shout out F1 then.
Right.
Easy to criticize, but when credit's due, we should give them out some credit.
True.
Something else I've noticed I saw, yeah, I think it was today on Twitter. I'm not gonna call out the user who tweeted this because
Right.
screw them, honestly. But what they said was they showed, I think, a picture of Yuki helping out with stuff, and then they
Yeah.
say, yeah, while Yuki is helping out in Italy, this guy goes to a lavish, capital letters, lavish event, and obviously
Right.
we all know we're talking about Lewis Hamilton doing his thing in the UK. I hate that hypocrisy so much.
Yes.
Obviously, it was also like a clickbaity title
It
of a
was.
certain
They did it
publication,
on.
which
They did it about Valtteri too.
really,
Yeah, they did it on Valtteri too. I saw a post somebody did it about Valtteri as well.
I
So
think if you're talking about the same tweet I'm talking about, it was a reply to the first tweet just to call out the user
right.
who's a Valtteri fan, uh, who only
Right.
calls out Lewis Hamilton for quote unquote
Right.
hypocrisy, which
Right.
is ridiculous. Like, I mean, the guy is in the UK, and Lewis Hamilton can't win in that situation
Nah,
because damn if he
can't
doesn't,
fight that.
damn if he doesn't. If he's in the UK, then he's going to a lavish event.
True.
If he flies to Italy to help out, he's just doing it for social credit.
There you go. There's the double. There it is. The double whammy.
Yeah,
That is very true.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the guy is held to a different standard. Obviously, I mean,
Yeah, he is.
people will grab onto any opportunity to hate. I think
Yeah, they will.
on that man.
Some people. Some people.
Some people,
Right.
mainly
Haters.
editors of certain publications,
Yeah.
and a certain fan group.
There we go. certain fan group, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I
I
tell
do want to talk about that a little bit about how I mean, that wasn't a Max fan in this particular case,
okay,
but it usually is. And
true.
I've noticed a kind of likeness between the dynamics of Lewis fans versus Max fans and
Hmm.
the dynamic between the left-leaning political activists and right-wing
Hmm.
leaning people. Um, what do you think about that?
There's a correlation there, definitely. There's a correlation there, and I mean, it's it's not an indictment on anybody, but it is to say that it is something that has been recognized more often than not. I would only say that it probably makes sense, if you felt this way. Now, I'm gonna say this: there are fans, there are people who like and support Red Bull as a fan or a spectator that do not carry the same views as those people that we know carry out malicious posts or acts. I will say that. I've met them, I've talked to them, and I had some Red Bull fans in my community, and they are not that way. But it is also true, and I always say this: two things can be true. It is also true that a good amount, if not a healthy amount, do carry out malicious acts, are racist, are biased, are sexist, are homophobic, and they don't have a problem doing so as long as they can mimic the same habits as those from the KKK. The KKK always wore a sheet over their face. So they always do it from accounts where it's really not them. They're always going to stand behind something. They're always going to try to put some type of shield up. And that's where the cowardness comes in. But if you can't do something with your face card on it, then that means really you're not really standing up for it. All right. So when we see these people, we have to remember how we respond to them sometimes gives them motivation, because really they're looking for attention. And I always tell people this, and sometimes haters don't like to hear it because it's true and they know it's true. Before you hate something, you have to love, admire, or like it. The reason why it turns into hate or jealousy is because you yourself do not possess the skills to do what you would love and like to do that somebody else does, or somebody else is getting something that you would really like to get, but you don't know how to get it. So now you spite that person, and that's how you carry out your actions and your energy. But underneath all that hate, y'all really love Lewis Hamilton. You really like Lewis Hamilton. You really like his achievements and what he's done. And that's another reason why so many Max fans are such in a rush to try to put Max on Lewis's level so that they can feel like they have somebody that they would like in that image to support. It's okay. That's really how it is. That's really how it goes.
When you scroll through Twitter and you see, I'm sure you see all these hateful tweets and whatnot. What's your strategy? Do you go and respond? Do you
Oh yeah,
respond with love, with hate? Do
yeah.
you just scroll away? Do you block? What do you do?
Yeah, now because I had to be responsible. So like some filters are set to where things at this point, because when I first started, like the filters were like what I see the N word, I see all type of stuff. So I had to set some filters and parameters to shield my community more so than myself, because it's not just me. But other than that, when I see it, man, I respond to it like, hey, thanks for being a fan of the channel. Appreciate your support. I know you love the content. Keep coming back and watching, because I literally have people that come and hate like they were here last season and they came back this season. So what does that tell you? You like to come here and at least do that. Like it's okay. So yeah, I respond with it like, hey, appreciate you liking the content. Keep being a fan. Or you know what? We always need new pups on the doorstep. Milk will be sitting out for you.
Nyasha from Quickstop F1 talked about it recently about all these haters coming to his
Oh yeah, Nasha, he
Twitter.
feeds off of it. He feeds off of it. The hate fuels him. He wants two things. He hates clout chasers. We both don't like capping, and we both feed off the hate. That's why I got a song called Hate Motivates. Like on iTunes, it's called Hate Motivates. Like it's for real. Hate does motivate. That motivates me. Because my grandfather always told me you can't have a lie without the truth. And if somebody dislikes you or hates you, that means you're doing something right.
Right, right. And I think these haters, I can't really get into their minds, but people have really lost the ability to just let something go and
Mm.
scroll away or switch a podcast. If you don't like what Nyasha is saying, if people are, they say you're a biased content creator. Of course, he's biased. It's in his bio, literally in his bio, and it's a Lewis Hamilton fan podcast. And after Lewis Hamilton retires, God forbid, I don't know what they're gonna do, Nyasha and Tandy.
Oh, he's
But
smart.
yeah,
Nasha's smart. He'll pivot. Bro will pivot.
people think that F1 content creators need to be unbiased. I mean, there's no such thing. You
Right.
can tone it down, you can try and keep it in check, but
There you go.
at the end of the day, we're all fans of something.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of cool and creative things that come out of certain podcasts loving a certain driver or team or attitude, and I think that gives a lot of variety in the space. So
Right.
you don't always, if I were only to listen to podcasts in the style of WTF, well, now it's P1, or the race, stuff like that. It's very like dry information, and I can't tell one from the other anymore. But I
That's
got,
a good
Quick
point.
Stop, and I got your podcast, and it's just really, really fun to also shout out the Red Flags podcast, hilarious group. Every podcast brings something else to the table, and a big part of it, I think, is the love to a certain driver and the hate to another driver.
Right.
I think that's fine. That's
Right.
fine. You don't like certain content,
Go
close the
pick
tab.
another one. There you go. Close the tab. Pick something else. There you go.
Yeah.
Like
If you don't got something nice to say.
I tell my bro Nice all the time, it's like Baskin Robbins, man. It's like everybody's got a flavor. Baskin Robbins still around because there's some ice cream in there that somebody likes, So just pick a flavor, go to the cash register and check out. You don't have to sit in there and protest a flavor that you don't want to buy and you don't like. There's another flavor. Go get that. Scoop it up.
Exactly. And if you see somebody else ordering the flavor you don't like, you're not gonna just go and berate them for ordering it.
Right.
Unless you're 12 years old, maybe.
Right.
You want to talk tech a little bit?
Sure.
All right. Let's talk about the Merc W14 upgrade coming in Monaco, which was supposed to be coming this weekend. I heard it's not going to be well suited to Monaco.
Right.
But if it brings one lap pace, I think that's all they need in qualifying. What's your take on that?
My take is Monaco in itself Monaco is just a circuit that I like. Stefano Domenicali says some things I just don't agree with, but one thing I do agree with, like if these circuits can't update and get on board with where Formula One is going to fit the new era of cars so that racing can be actually enjoyed by the spectators and most importantly by the drivers, we can't keep you on the schedule just for nostalgia. Like Monaco is a nostalgia circuit. That's really all it is. It brings the stars out. And I've said on my other podcast, it's almost debated that Miami could do the same. Miami had stars out for real in Miami. Monaco has been known, and that's really what Monaco hangs on to, the stars, the yachts. Now, I know the yachts in Miami, they real, but they on fake water. So they still got to work that part out. But other than that, Miami is like, might possibly be able to be the new era Monaco, but with a track that will facilitate racing and competitive competition for us to be entertained by. And I always say it works in that flow. Breed good competition and challenges for the drivers and teams, and you will get entertainment. Formula One trying to breed entertainment to try to then go to challenges and it doesn't work that way. You got to go from the competition and challenges. Monaco doesn't offer that. It's a very monotone race. Like
it offers on Saturday, but that's it.
Right. That's it. It's a monotone race. And as far as Mercedes bringing updates, because I'll call them updates, until we see a positive notion that comes out of the update, it's not even an upgrade, right? It's just an update and a change. We need something positive to happen. Monaco is not the best place for them to test this, but still it's always some type of variable. There's comparables. They can always compare lap time. They can always see and know, did we get something right? Now those walls and it's some tight close quarters, so I know they got spares and it's probably not the best track to do it, but they're gonna have to do it because they don't have the time to waste right now. Mercedes have put themselves with their back up against the wall, and there's another statement that goes with that. I'm not gonna say it, but you back up against the wall, and they done so on their own, and they do have the ability, the resilience, and the information and the mindset to work themselves out of it. I know 2022 was horrible, but you still have to credit Mercedes for the amount of progress that they did within that season. In a working season, amount of progress that they took that W13. I know it was still abysmal, but still, we saw progress out of that. And they came back with it again, W14, and now they're finding themselves like, hey, we shot ourselves in the foot. We got to turn it around. Mercedes will be able to do it. They don't have the time to waste. They need to bring the update there. They need to go ahead and start testing so they can flow. I'm going to tell you this. In Monaco, if I don't see flow viz on that W14 at some point in time, or an aero rakes, I don't have a problem. Like, they need to bring out everything they can.
Does the aero rake even fit in the width of the track?
That's a good question, bro.
I never
That's a
seen that
good
in Monaco.
question. That's a good question, right? Like there might be one section you got to have somebody at the end of that
Oh my
sector to
gosh.
pull them off. But that is a good. That is very true, and
I,
that's
I
the
wouldn't
problem
put
with
out
Monaco.
I wouldn't put the rake out if Lance Stroll is on track.
Oh no, not at all. No, not at all. You're right. That's a hazard.
Let's read some comments. So we got Mary Beanie and Blue Diva. Shout out to them.
Shout out, Wolfpack fam.
Yeah, so Blue Diva says Monaco always ends up being a 2-hour parade lap. The only time Monaco gets spicy is when it's mixed conditions. I don't disagree with
I
that.
don't disagree with that. She's usually on
Right.
point. Blue Diva's usually on point.
Yeah, Mary Beanie says Monaco best times was late 80s and early 90s.
And she's a
Blue Diva.
historian, and Mary Beanie's gonna know that. Like that's that's why I tell people in my community, I got a plethora of knowledge that I can always access and resource to. Like they are awesome with that, especially Mary Beanie and Galactus and the rest of the fam and Paul and Sean. Like they have a lot of knowledge about Formula One and going back 20, 30 years. So that's what's another thing that's awesome about my community is that the generations that are involved in there from like 18 to 60 is like it's crazy.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome. And man, I would join those sessions, but I live in Israel, so the time when
Your time
F1
difference, bro, you be working. The time difference is crazy.
3 a.m. When F1 minute goes live. Do you know another thing that my location ruins for me is actually race days because in Israel the weekend is Saturday and Sunday. Sorry, Friday,
No,
Saturday.
Friday and
So
Saturday.
Sunday is a work day. It's like your Monday.
Right.
So I have to either not watch it live or take a break off work in the middle of the day just to watch a race. It's crazy. It's like, there's a meme with the drowning kid in the pool with the mom holding up the baby. And so like the mom holding up the baby is like the European fans getting the most races in their time zones and everything's great. Then there's the drowning kid, which is let's say US fans, Australia fans, Asian fans getting the races at night, in the early morning, whatever. And then there's like down then in the pool, the skeleton, that's me. Not being able to watch races live because it's Sunday and I'm at work.
That sucks.
It really does. It really does.
You got to shield yourself.
So about the W14 update, I love it that you said update, not upgrade. We don't know if it's an upgrade yet. Might ruin things. I heard the reason that they're still bringing it to Monaco is logistics. It would take them more time to rebuild the W14 in its Miami spec than it will be to just keep it as it is with the what was supposed to be the Imola spec. So they're going ahead with that, and I wanted to just agree with what you said about Mercedes being able to learn from their mistakes and everything. I think Mercedes as an organization, they have some sort of these processes and the discipline to tackle these problems, these issues, and they're not throwing out some accusations like we've seen with Alpine this week or last week, was it? With Lauren Rossi, the CEO of Alpine, basically putting Otmar's head on the chopping block, and I would never see that in Mercedes ever. That's just not their thing. To go ahead and blame people and threaten people, that's just not it,
Yeah,
and I
they
think
don't care themselves like that.
Yeah, I think in that regard, that's what separates Mercedes from the rest. And I think James Vowles, is it, who moved to
Williams?
I think he's going to bring that attitude with him over there.
Yeah, and he already has, and I like when I see people get an opportunity to grow. And I know people are like, oh, he left, but listen, he's got to grow. Like you can't expect for somebody to stay stagnant just because you want to see something. It's still their life. So when James made that move, of course, people felt that way. But I'm seeing that he's really taken in that role, and like I'm gonna talk to it, but I really think he's doing a good job. I think he's a positive attribute to Williams, and I'm hoping that Williams. I've always said like Williams are the angels that fell from heaven, and one day I'm wondering if they can ever get back. Sometimes people that come into Formula One now really don't realize how great Williams was and how many great drivers came through that name and where they were. And so now they just see the Williams of now. Well, I really hope that one day Williams can get back to where that was, and it'll be an awesome thing to see. It'll be good for Formula One as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think they were great innovators at the time with
Active
active suspension.
suspension, right, bro? They had come on, they did some things, man. Did some
Yeah.
things.
Let's add a new topic that I didn't plan to talk about. Still in the realm of tech.
Okay.
Let me just close that banner. FIA rules and the formula of Formula One, the regulations. Do you think they're too restrictive nowadays, or do you think if they teams had more freedom to pursue aero and other performance avenues, do you think that would make racing better or worse?
I think what you would see is Christian Horner filling out a bunch of petition sheets like he's always done because I think you would see him having carpal tunnel earlier than he probably would any other time. You're likely to see Red Bull get a sponsorship from Pampers so that Max might cry a lot more and
Kleenex as well.
Kleenex as well. And that is likely what you would see. But on the other side, I think that it would be good. I just, as far because it's not hard for me. It's just I'm gonna try to be careful when I say this. I'm not against the regs. All right. I'm against when they formulate regs just to cripple a said team. So now we've seen, and I think a lot of, I'm gotta say it because it's only true. I think a lot of Red Bull fans forget, what was it, 2015? Red Bull was literally crying to leave the sport because Mercedes, they wanted the FIA to do something about Mercedes. Well, now that Red Bull is seeming like they will have the dominance, and rightfully so, with the RB19 in itself, just in that isolated, I'm going to give that isolated kudos. The RB19 is a well-developed, built machine. Adrian Newey did his thing, rightfully so, being probably one of few people, the only person actively on the grid in his position to have additional information with experiences with ground effects back in the day. And he also was with Williams. So there you go, with another Williams candidate right there. And I just think that situation is good. So now if you open that up for just a little bit more development, because they knocked the whole situation with Aston Martin, and it was wonderful the way they incorporated the end plate in their rear wing section. I knew it was going to come up and it would get banned. That was
beautiful to
that
see
was
beautiful, right. Innovation. That was beautiful.
And
the Mercedes, was it slot gap separators?
Slot gap separators, which they brought back in this season. So they deemed them horribly wrong last season.
Ferrari adopted them as well.
Ferrari adopted them post the regulation being changed, saying that the primary use, if it was a slot gap separator, the primary use is that, and the secondary, then it's fine. And then the other thing we had Red Bull, they did a good job with breaking the beam wings, because initially the beam wings, although two different components, they set as one plane. They acted as one plane of aero. Well, Red Bull took that and split them so that they can manipulate more of that airflow, which was awesome. And I didn't think it should be banned at all. But it seems like Red Bull fans forget, hey, now that you hear people talking about, well, are the FIA going to step in and do something about Red Bull, since there's only 2 Red Bull cars racing on the track? And you got Red Bull fans oh, you crying. Well, I'm just saying what goes around comes around. Christian Horner and them were crying for seasons about Mercedes, and now it's their time to be cried about, if that's how you want to put it. So I do think they should open it up a little bit. I think also they need to take into account the power unit allocations. They are not appropriate for the amount of races that they are trying to put on these teams and these drivers.
They upped it.
Do
you think that's not enough though?
Nah, man. Look at what we got already. We just getting ready to tap round 5. We already got teams knocking on the door, getting ready to take grid penalties.
Well, that's Ferrari being Ferrari.
Damn, he called them out. That's true though.
They're the only team who's in the situation.
Lando's knocking on the door too.
Really?
Lando's knocking on that door too. Sergio's knocking on that door. Mercedes, they right there. They're cool. They're cool right now. Mercedes is cool, but there are a few teams and a few drivers that are knocking on that door. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the addition of all these sprint races, you obviously can't keep it at 3.
You can't. You can't.
No.
Well, they can, but you shouldn't.
Yeah, they upped it to 4. I have to. I had a thought about the cost cap. Okay. So there's been some ideas floating around that with the cost cap, it's harder for teams to catch up to the likes of Red Bull. So, Adrian Newey, he sees CFD with his eyes. He sees the
Right.
airflow going on around. So, arguably, all these restrictions that they got on the aero and the wind tunnel, all that stuff, is
Right.
not gonna affect them too harshly.
That penalty was crap. The penalty was so
Yeah,
crap. It was horrible.
10% out of the 70 that they already had, it
It
was
was crap.
shenanigans.
It was.
Obviously, a slap on the wrist, and the way Christian Horner inflated it and Drive to Survive.
Right.
Oh, they want our heads. Bullshit.
He does that. He
Mm.
drama. He's
Yeah,
drama.
yeah, yeah. Well, he's doing his job, and in that
That's
regard,
true
very
too.
well so.
That is true.
But what do you think about a sort of dynamic cost cap? So obviously, you got a sliding scale for the wind tunnel and the CFD time. But what if you had a sliding scale for budget? So if you're the top team, you'd be spending up to 135 mil.
Right.
And if you're the bottom team, I'm just throwing some numbers on numbers around 135, 165, 175.
Yeah, I
What
would
do you
say
think
another
about that?
30. I think that's an awesome idea, honestly. I do. I think that's a good idea. I think that if you had that sliding scale, then yeah, it would be a little bit more competitive, and rightfully so. Like any other sport that we have, like the NBA has a lottery, so nobody can just come pick the number one. The NFL does an inverse order in comparison to what their ending season is. So the weakest teams get to draft first some of the best players, and they can kind of catch that up. I think that sliding scale, the idea that you just presented, would be a very good thing for the cost cap by 30 million to give teams that are on the back half of the grid to see if they can, develop and catch up, especially when you got a situation like you have now. And I honestly, I think in any situation within means, if they figure out the right percentages, it would be good to have, period. And like Mercedes, I don't know why people constantly do. Well, I know why they do it, because they just want to throw shade. People say, well, Mercedes broke the cost cap. There was no cost cap when Mercedes was spending this money.
Spent a lot because they were successful, and they're
Right.
backed by a manufacturer. I mean,
Thank you. There
if
was no
Red
cost
Bull
cap.
could do it today with the $500 million deal that it did with Oracle, if they could spend it this year, they would have done it. And they would have gotten another sponsor for the next 10 years down the line.
Right.
Of course.
So I think the sliding scale is good. And I think it's also fair to say that but not a factual thing that I'm about to say, but I think it's fair to say that if a team blows through the cost cap by 1.8 million some odd pounds, you cannot tell me, unless you can factually show me, that money did not in some way contribute towards development.
It obviously did.
It obviously did, right?
If they say it was catering, then
I need to go get some of that catering. I need to go get some of that chicken wings or the donuts or the crumpets or the crepes. I need to go get some of
that. Yeah, what I'm saying is if that went into catering, then they used whatever is within the cost cap to obviously develop the car or hire personnel that would have a direct impact on the car. It's never just catering. It doesn't matter what it was. Could be new parking lot. Doesn't matter. It's gonna if you overspend in that area, that means you freed up some space within the budget for car related stuff.
There you go.
Ugh, makes me so mad.
I can tell. I can tell.
Yeah. And I remember when the penalty was first announced. I think it was back in Japan or Singapore or something like that.
They waited till that race, right?
Yeah. So I think there was another idea floating around that they should have been penalized from their 2023 budget, and that did not happen. That was like a 7 mil fine, out of whatever budget they have, and not the cost cap, and that was really disappointing to see. And
to let them, I think, and this is another idea I talked about on a podcast of mine, is I think that there should be a level, like, so if you breach, and this whole minor and major, if you breach financially, there is no ABA. There is no accepted breach agreement. You go to the cost cap adjudication panel. The ABA level is for if you do a procedural breach. And then even in that, if they say, hey, here's your punishment for your procedural breach, and you don't like that punishment, okay, well, then you go to the cost cap adjudication panel. We're not going to do the back and forth. We're not going to come back and let you negotiate a lesser panel, like let Adrian Newey come in here and complain to us about how his aerodynamics and his chalk and his paper is going to be. We're not letting you do that. If you procedural breach, you'll get one shot right here, and this is your punishment. If you don't like it, then we take it up. If you breach in expenditures, then it's going straight to the cost cap adjudication panel. There is no APA.
Amen.
So now I'm waiting to see, because it's, we haven't heard a lot of talk about it. I'm waiting to see when these certificates are going to come out, because it already says in the regulations that multiple breach, we should see. So if we see Red Bull breach
22,
right, in any form or fashion, it's a multiple breach period of the financial regulations. We better not see anything less than straight hammering them down. That's just true,
right.
because Stefano already said that he was in fear that they did not set the precedents correctly on Red Bull, and was in fear that
He said that?
He said that he was in fear that teams might breach the cost cap. You didn't set the precedents. Ross Bruns, whatever teeth he had, like I always say, they were gummy bears made with marshmallows, and that ain't a hard bite. I'm just trying to tell you.
That ABA thing was very reminiscent of Michael Massey, deal or no deal type of situation in 21. Do you remember that?
That man said, yeah, he's like, and matter of fact, Massey, I'm waiting. Me and Nasha talked about this. I'm waiting to see what's going to happen years from now, like this NDA whole thing. I'm waiting to see what kind of stories are going to come out years from now about that whole entire situation in 2021.
Do you think it's coming back to F1?
Man, I'm telling you, I think it's going to come out. It's going to come out at some point in time. It's going to come out. Skeletons don't always stay in the closet. They do for a long time, but usually they always surface at some point in time. And I think it eventually something will come out.
I mean, there was the 2019, I think, Ferrari engine thing. I don't think we're gonna hear about that ever.
That was another one. That was another situation. Like, you give them a big penalty, but then you don't divulge the information, then which says why you penalize them. So evidently you found something that was illegal, but you don't want to tell us. So then you penalize. That whole thing was fishy, and that was fraudulent too.
Indeed. How about we switch gears? Car thing.
I like that. I like that. No pun intended.
And let's talk about F1 Academy.
Yeah.
I, for one, was very excited for the F1 Academy to come around. I thought we would have F1 Academy and we would have W Series together, running together. You'd have F1 Academy for the younger portion of the drivers, and W Series for the more adult, more mature racers such as Emma Kymäläinen, Baiska who are like in their early 30s, I think. But obviously F1 Academy is like aimed at the younger drivers, I think 16 and up, 16 to 25, I think. I was very excited to see that happening. And then no broadcast. Have you seen the highlights?
I saw they had the weekend wrap-ups. When I was on Formula One TV. I got it set, so I said I'm gonna check that out. But I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. I talked to my queens over there at the Apex Takeover. I talked to them about it, and I told them that something that concerns me going into this is, if something is supposed to be a big bring out, usually you're going to have a marketing team. They're going to buy the websites. They're going to buy the domain names. They're going to have a website already available because they want their schedule out. They want you to be able to start, getting indoctrinated into the F1 Academy theme. They want to start there was no website. Right now, we're just strictly dealing off of social media. So that right there was a concern of mine. Yep.
I don't know when it came out, but there is one now.
It's late. It's like everything else. So now there's no broadcast. And then another thing I told them that I was concerned about is, if Formula One is so invested in trying to bring and highlight F1 Academy, why is it that they only have one race where they're going to be seen together with the F1 circuit? Everything else is like, you stay in the corner and racing and we'll be over here. So I don't appreciate that. But still, let's be, if an opportunity is an opportunity. And supposedly they said within 2 to 3 years, they want to see an F1 Academy driver make its way to F3. So we'll see if that really does happen. But in this situation, I think there are also several other things that I have voiced that I think they did not do F1 Academy any justice. And that is this: there are 3 cars per team, correct?
Yeah.
One knock on women participating in motorsports is that they cannot compete with us as men, which is bullcrap. All right. Because my daughter does it every weekend. She's on the track with boys every weekend. And in karting, they do that now. And then they separate it as it comes up, which I don't know why. I felt that they should have, if their real goal was to make sure that women could be respected as drivers just alike, was to put a man in one of 3 of those cars as a mandatory thing. So when it comes up for them getting ready to go to F3, nobody can say that they didn't race against men and beat them. Nobody can say that. So people are going to use that knock when they come out like, well, you just still drove against women in F3. It's different when you drive with men. No, I felt that they should have put a male in each one of those cars, one male out of the 3 cars, so that these women could prove the stopwatch doesn't lie. My competition and my ability to perform in this car is no different or better than him. The only difference is, do I have the ability or do I not? That's what I thought should have happened.
That's a very interesting point. I gotta say, I'm not sure I agree with you.
No, I completely agree. I completely know
point. I think it might, this whole segregation of the genders, I feel is very bad for the sport. It's not like you got, I don't know, boxing or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Physical, where you're imposing your physical will on another body. Exactly.
And also, like, I'm listening to a lot of queer content, trans content, and the way they approach it is, let's not segment sports on a gender basis. Let's do it on a physique basis. Like you got lightweights, medium weights, heavyweights in boxing or whatever.
Right.
Let's do the same for other sports. I mean, each sport can have a different way of classifying the competitors.
Right.
Like, Michael Phelps with his wingspan. I mean, let's compare him to other people with a similar wingspan or something like that.
Right.
I don't know. So I do like the idea of highlighting women drivers because they have been underrepresented. I think it should be like a stopgap kind of solution for the thing. And hopefully, in a few years' time, we won't be needing F1 Academy. We won't be needing things like W Series. If this is going to be a permanent solution, then I think they're setting themselves up to fail. And it says a lot about them and their intentions. As to putting boys in, I do say boys because just 16-year-olds.
Right.
Whatever. If they're going to put in male teenagers in F1 Academy, I think that's going to put some extra stress on them. And it's kind of like to see if we can humiliate them with women beating them or something. I'm not sure.
No,
I like that as a
concept. I hate it. I hate if somebody would have that perspective versus having the perspective of we shouldn't have them separated. Because like I said, in karting, they race together, right? They all race together, and then they get up in certain levels of racing, they split them up. I don't think they should split them up
women
at all.
Karting championship.
Right. Right. I think they should just keep them together. And I think Formula One should have took the opportunity to start bridging that gap back with F1 Academy, like bringing in, like, we're not going to separate them. F1 Academy is not a women's academy. It's not a male's academy. It's a driver's academy. And we're going to make sure that all these drivers, whether men or women, get an opportunity to compete in the F1 Academy so we can get these drivers working up to the F Series. I think that's my point. I think they should have took the opportunity to break the mold that had been molded that shouldn't have been made, break it and say, we're not doing that at F1 Academy. Yeah. And start the season out with a mixed grid of women and men. Yeah.
I think if you're putting me on the spot and like, if you're asking me, how do you, Asaf, think we should highlight these women in F1 Academy and to show that they can beat the boys, so to say. Okay. I think putting them on the same grid kind of defeats the original purpose, and adds undue pressure on the boys and the girls as well. I mean, let's see if you can beat this token guy in your team. I mean, and it's all spec cars anyway, so it's not like every team should have like one boy and two girls. I mean, it's if you ask me, I think you should just compare the lap times, of F1 Academy, because it's the same car as, I think, F4 regional or something like that. I'm not sure. I think that's one way to put it. But other than that, it's not to say again, this is my personal view. I don't know what Susie Wolf is
right. Which big shout out to Susie.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, limited shout out as we can see from this first season of F1 Academy. Let's see where we are next year.
Right. I'm gonna limit your shout out. He's rough on him. I'm gonna limit this. You get 30% now. I'll hold the 70 for later.
You get a holla.
That was good.
So the way I see it, F1 Academy is a way to highlight drivers and to showcase them and pick the best and put them into F3, put them then into F2 and let them advance. You know, the fact that Jamie Chadwick was not able to do that, to secure that funding after winning 3 monetary prizes, winning W Series, that is
that was egregious, man. That was disgusting, really, honestly. That was disgusting.
Yeah. There's no signs of W Series coming back, is there? Yeah, that's over probably.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you'd like to talk about? You know what? Let's talk about the stuff you do. We talked about the Grudge racing. We talked about F1 Minute and the Wolfgang.
Yeah.
Right? Did I mess it up?
No, you can say Wolfgang, Wolfam, Wolfpack. They're good. Wolfpack. Well, hey, we're good with it.
Wolfpack
as long as Wolf is in there, we good with
it. Yeah. So, how many hours a day do you have? Do you operate on some other plane that the rest of us have not tapped into?
Man, I've been told that I do. So, like, if people really keep an eye on timelines, they'll see, man, it could be 2 a.m. It could be 2300. It could be whatever, and you might see Jay pop up somewhere. And a lot of times, man, I might be right here working on something. You know, I might be right here just going to work on information or looking at what I want to do. I might be upstairs. So, you know, a lot of things that I deal with, man. Sometimes when my mind just goes, I don't go. I might go in the garage and work on the little one's car. Fortunately, my car is not here. The chassis is I'm having some metal work done because I'm doing a wide body. So that's a big thing right now. I'm doing one of the few wide bodies in the world on an Integra. So a lot of people are paying attention to that. But once that gets back, then I'm back in the garage and I'm putting that thing back together. So, man, I just operate. It's just always I want to try to be the best version of myself. And I do it to a fault to where I may not sleep as much as I should. And
how many hours do you think you get a night?
Man, I wore one of those sleep rings. I wore a sleep ring that fed all the data. And it said that literally, I think around in a 24-hour period, my average was 3 hours and 40 something minutes with about 20 minutes of REM sleep and some odd minutes of, so like literally I wore it for like a week and that was my average. So of course I got like a 57 grade. Like I failed the test horribly, but it's just what it is right now. And of course, you know, it hopefully will improve. It will improve. Hopefully with some other things getting corrected, it will improve and it will happen. It's just that my mind is busy. So that's just how I am, man. Not everybody is just how I am. It is how I am.
From the outside, it does not look like you're going to be slowing down. It looks like you're adding more and more activities, podcasts, content, business stuff, and now with your daughter and karting, that's kind of new, isn't it? That's
that's new, man. Yeah, she said she wanted to do it. Like I had a race car back in the day, and I had the kart thing, and I was doing that. And then what happened was, she goes to me a lot of car shows and events. She's there. Like usually when I set up the booth and I'm going there as a business and I'm going there as the car and then people want the car there, she's with me. And a lot of times we go to Cars and Coffee. And to go to Cars and Coffee, you got to get up like at 5 because those cars start running in like 6. Cars and Coffee is the event that we have here in the U.S. and preferably like down south to where just literally people bring coffee and they show up early in the morning with all types of cars like R34s. You might see Bugattis, you might see whatever, but they get there early. So it's 5:30 wake up time if we're going to get there. And she's like, don't leave without me. And she's serious. So when she started going with me to these car shows and plus the events, she's always with me in the garage, and she has been. So one day she comes up to me, we're at a shop, and she comes up, she's like, I want to race. I was like, what? She's like, I want to race. I was like, okay, whatever. So I went ahead, I threw her cart together just like a street cart. And she got in it and she said she still wanted, she said why can't I race with other kids my age and besides just you? So I said, okay, we really want to do this. So she said she wanted to do it, man. So we went out, we took a road trip. We went and looked at like 3 different chassis. We went out to dinner. We finally ended up with one and we came back from out of town and boom, ordered safety equipment. And now she's racing. We got our next round tomorrow. So we're getting it together. So up until now, we just found out her engine was busted. The person that built it didn't put it
Ooh.
together right. So she's been racing with a busted motor, which I knew something was wrong. So I went ahead, got the new engine in. So she's loving it, man. She actually is loving it, and I'm loving that she's loving it. And it's a different thing because it's not going to be anything secret, but we are the only Black family out there. And our first time going there was crazy, man. We passed like so many Confederate flags, it wasn't funny. So
Ooh.
I'm already like,
In Atlanta still, or
right? No, it's
in
further
Georgia?
south because the
Okay.
track's like an hour away from us.
Ooh.
So it's already, that's another thing to travel, right? So an hour away is not the worst, but it's an hour away. And I didn't know what to expect once we got to the track. So I'm prepared for anything. But it was very welcoming to see that other people were very like, hey, put our arms around them and like, we're here to support you and help you. And like, it was very welcoming. You know, I can't speak for like so much outside the track, but at that track, those people are very welcoming, and it's been an awesome experience thus far. And the amount of help and just, you know, when I say help, I'm talking about people come over like, hey, you know, if you need anything, let us know. Or when she had a bad wreck her first day. It was horrible. Her leg got pinned. EMS had to come out. I had to carry her off the track. And then and by time I was dealing with her, because I was concerned her leg was broke, but fortunately they were the same size, so it hadn't gotten broken. Her muscle just bulged up so bad it was knotted. By the time I got back to try to go to the track to get her cart, our two fathers had already got her cart back, and they were working on it. And they said, listen, we're going to work on this cart. Like, if we get it together, do you think that she'll go back out? And I said, I don't know, but I'll see. So they were already working on the cart, man. And that's why I say you have to be about character, not color. All right. Because you never know. You can't judge a book by its cover. And had I did that going into the situation, you never know what they would have felt. But because we came in like, hey, we just here, though they already were working on the cart. So I got her back. She's limping. And she's done crying, and rightfully so. I didn't get on for that. But I told her, I said, if you can walk, I'm going to need you to get back in this cart, because if we leave now, you might not come back because you'll think that this is the worst when really you can get over this. So
like as a confidence thing, right?
The confidence thing, right? So I said, if you can walk, I need you to get back in the cart for qualifying. So she walks around, she comes back to me, she's got her suit on, she's like, I'm gonna go. So they wrap her leg up, she gets in, she qualifies third. From there, the rest of the day was like, boom, she got knocked off podium because a guy ended up wrecking her out and tore her cart up. So that was the other bad thing. And they didn't think she was going to come back. She came back. Our next race, she got second and third in 2 heats. So I'm loving it, man.
She knows it wasn't her fault.
Right.
She would have been on the podium.
She got through it. I wrecked before. Now I'm just ready to go. So now that I got her engine fixed, I'm just excited for her as an individual to have that motivation and that experience to like get knocked down, stand back up, get back in, and push forward. So
that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. I heard you talking about it. I think it was on Verbal Reasoning podcast, which we should shout out for sure, because I think you guys are really downplaying that podcast. It's just a lovely chat between you, Cam F1, and Yasha. And you talked about her, I think, on the podcast there. And what our listeners here might not know is that you give her a lot of autonomy and freedom to decide what's next. And I think that's beautiful. And that I think is one aspect that I think was missing from that story, because you do give her a lot of autonomy to decide what she wants to do next. If she doesn't want to continue racing, she's not going to have, like, you're not a pressuring kind of dad.
Not at all.
I think what you did there with the confidence thing probably was right, maybe for her age or whatnot. I know when I got my license, not racing, obviously, just my driver's license, and I wrecked the car, I think pretty early on. But my dad, who was a loss adjuster at the time, like, he knows about damages and cars and stuff like that. He told me the most important thing is that you're okay, and this is just a piece of metal, and that can be fixed. And he gave me the confidence to go back into the car. Like, I didn't get hurt, obviously, but I would have been afraid to step back into to jump back into a car and drive it. So I think that support is really great. What you did for her.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Let's read some more comments. I kind of left them out for a bit. Yeah, Mary Beanie, of course. Susie is Scottish, just as her, just as Mary.
Yeah.
Deregolo.
Uno, what's going on?
Yeah, big tribute shout out to the late. What's that? What reference am I missing?
Let me see.
Uh,
Oh, Jim Brown passing. He said, "Big shout out
oh,
and tribute to the late Jim Brown passing."
damn.
Mm, yeah, big shout out for that.
Yep.
Damn.
We need to
Iconic.
see this F1 Academy live coverage. Something I saw on F1 channel speculating about planning somewhere. Yeah. What I heard about the F1 Academy broadcasting rights, I think it was just it's just not. You know, they haven't put pen to paper yet, but
Okay.
hopefully that's coming. I mean,
I hope so.
if you've seen the highlights, I mean, it's well shot, it's well directed,
It is.
well commentated, and it's like it's the whole technical infrastructure is there, and we want to see that race. I mean, I but Bianca Bustamante, you know her, the young
Yeah,
driver
she
from the
got that play
Philippines.
shoot. Yeah, she got up.
Yeah, and if you follow her on Instagram, you'll see that so many like prominent drivers like Esteban Ocon give her a huge shout out and on a podcast that he was. I think the president of the Philippines like put a banner of her like in the middle of
Oh, that's
Manila or something
awesome.
like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And you see all that stuff, and like, I want to see that win. I want to see that race. I want to see,
Right.
I want to see it play out, and I can't. I just see like a few shots. I mean, highlights are okay, but I want to see the whole thing. I want to see the drama.
Right.
And my favorite driver is Abby Pulling, and she was disqualified. I mean, the entire team, Roden Carlin, the team was disqualified after qualifying, and she qualified for pole, I think. And then she started from the back, and I think she finished like 6th or 5th in stock cars. And I think that's I could.
That's
It's
phenomenal.
amazing, and I can't see it. Like I only see the reports. Like she came from last to 5th or whatever.
Right.
Like
You want to see it
I
play
want to
out.
see that.
Right.
I mean, it's great to hear that she's excelling, but I want to see that. Right? And it's really really frustrating.
Frustrating for you.
Yeah.
When this guy's frustrated, you know.
Oh man. Blue Diva, Abby is amazing. I can't wait to see what she can achieve. Yes, of course. I think a name that's been floating around lately, destined to be the next the first female F1 driver. I think Lena Buller or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe another Lena, or from the Mercedes young driver academy. She's like karting now or something like that. But I really hope that we can get there sooner and have Abby join Alpine maybe after Esteban
because Alpine
retires.
got a wonderful program too to race her.
She is
Right.
an Alpine Academy driver, yeah.
Right.
So I want to see her replace. You know what? I love Gasly. I'd replace any one of them with Abby Pulling in a couple of years' time. I want to see that happen.
I'm cool with that.
I'm cool with that. I want her to be the first, but I don't want her to be the last. I want to see that Lena girl. I want to see that Bianca Bustamante. Yeah. I want to see more diversity on that grid, man.
Right. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. All right. I think let's just shout out again the Verbal Reasoning podcast, which is available on YouTube and Spotify and all that stuff. Right. The only place where it's not available, I found, is Pocket Casts. So I hope that gets changed. Yeah. I think again in stripping the dipping fashion, let's finish out with one last question.
Let's go.
Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Hell yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it. I'm all the way with it. That's me and my baby's favorite type of pizza. Pineapple, wine. Hey, put it on there.
I'm with you, brother. I was against it up until recently. But then I had a Hawaiian with bacon on it. It's really hard to get bacon pizza in Israel because, not kosher and whatnot.
The kosher.
But as soon as I tried it, I think it was in New York. I had it in New York, and it was beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean,
refreshing.
The sweetness
salty,
of the pineapple with the
with
the saltiness of the bacon. Bring it on. Doesn't mean it's my favorite pizza. I think my favorite pizza was with smoked salmon.
I could see that being a banger.
Oh, yeah.
That could be a banger, man.
Yeah, go for it.
Damn, I'm about to have to see if somebody might be able to make that. That sounds like a banger.
Just get it in the supermarket and put it on some other pizza that you get. It's amazing. Even
Salmon's one of my favorite fish too. Yeah, definitely.
Smoke it.
Stay drug free, y'all. Smoke it.
I think that's about gonna wrap us up, and
we're gonna leave on smoke it.
I really had a lot of fun talking to you. I'm sure you'll be back on the podcast real soon with Dens, with F1 Black, with Georgina. Yeah, I mean, thank you everybody for tuning in. Mary, Deregalo, Blue Diva, Georgie tuned in as well. I don't know who else has tuned in and not commented, but shout out to you too. Thanks for coming, and really go follow Jay Wolfpack Performance on Twitter, on YouTube, all that good stuff.
iTunes, right?
Yeah, that too. I'm an Android guy, so that's not.
It's on the Google Play. To go get.
All right, you do that. So, as Dens signs off, I need to find my own sign off.
Yeah, I was about to say, what's your sign off?
This is my second time hosting. So, I'm gonna think about that. But I had a great time. It's great to talk to you, man. Such an inspiration. Like all these things you do, you need to get some sleep, man.
I will. Take a nap.
Peace
out.